Hello, everyone.
Hello, hello.
What's up?
What's up? This is Johnny Congus, Danny, Dylan, and Jesse will be joining us on this one, I believe. We'll see. We make no promises. Every time we do that, something goes funny with the internet. But this is episode 32 of The Front Lounge with Congos. Got a lot of fun stuff to talk about today.
Is that just a picture of bread for Jesse?
Yeah, that screensaver of the bread that you're seeing is Jesse.
The stuff he buys?
Yeah. That conspiracy is still going on our Discord that Jesse never never bakes his own bread, and he only buys it and then pretends like he bought it.
Looks like he has risen.
Yeah. Right off the bat, if you want to watch this without the ads, you can subscribe on Twitch. You can also catch this after the fact on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, all the podcast platforms. And if you want to just support the podcast, go to patreon.com/Congos and you can throw a couple dollars our way. And we'll probably send them to Jeff Bezos by way of buying a microphone on Amazon or something like that. But one way or another, Jeff Bezos is getting all of the dollars that come our direction.
I feel like we should introduce ourselves at parties like that. Yeah, if you want to support us on Patreon, and you can also catch me. I'm Johnny Congus. My Patreon is...
It's not far off from what a lot of people do at parties these days. What's up? Anything interesting you guys have got off the bat to tell me about?
Nothing that we haven't talked about yesterday.
Did you, how'd your farm tour go?
Oh, yeah, actually, we did a farm tour. Sky from Dirt Candy, this neighboring farm of ours, and I did this dual farm tour in Wimberley. About 15 or 20 people. We're kind of seeing if we can do this maybe on a regular basis, once every quarter or maybe once every 2 months or something like that, depending on the season, trying to offer it to people that are interested in growing food and farming and learning from our mistakes. And it was pretty good. We had some hardcore people that were like with notepads and stuff, taking notes on some of the stuff we're doing. So,
I mean, you're obviously new to it. Oh, here we go. Let's go, Jesse. Wait for his entrance on the... There. There's Jesse, yeah. Everyone.
Hey, what's going on? You guys got me?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry, you were saying, Dylan?
What did I miss?
No, I was just saying I did that farm tour on Sunday, yesterday, and it went well. We had some of our regular customers from the farmers market come out, and a lot of people wanting to know how to grow food and start their own little farms or homesteads or gardens. So it was kind of a new experience for me. The last 2 weekends, we did a talk at a nursery 2 weeks ago, and now we did this farm tour. So having to kind of talk in a like doing TED Talk style type of environment, yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's weird because I know a lot about it, but then while I'm talking, I actually realize how little I know. It's, and I think that's how most people, I bet even scientists who know, like when they go up on stage and they start talking about quantum physics and consciousness and stuff like that, they obviously know a lot about it and they've studied it their whole lives. But I have a feeling in the moment when they start talking about it, this is what I get. Is like I start talking about the symbiosis of fungal networks under the soil and, the interconnectedness of all these things. And I start thinking and having this feeling like, oh, I actually don't know shit about any of this in reality. Like I can describe it. I've witnessing some effects or some consequences of what I'm doing, but to actually know what I'm talking about on a deep level, it's a whole nother thing.
Well, I think one of the things to being a successful public figure is suppressing self-doubt,
Yeah.
Part of it is that understanding something yourself or, learning it yourself and then being able to present it cohesively is a different skill, and they're not mutually exclusive, but sometimes they are. The people who are really good at doing or really know things cannot teach it or cannot express it clearly, and vice versa as well.
Yeah. Yeah, it was an interesting experience, kind of fun doing it and seeing how concise I can be about a subject that basically I only talk to other farmers about. Like when I talk to Sky, a friend of mine who has this other farm, like it's like talking shop. You can just bounce back and forth and talk about anything. Like you guys talk about amps or talk about DAWs or whatever. We can talk about what radish seeds have done well for us and like why they've done well in what type of soil. But then to actually start talking about it to people who don't know anything about it or who know very little about it, and you're trying to make a presentation out of it, it's a whole nother kind of field of practice.
I was listening to this guy he's a crawfish farmer, crawfish / rice. This is the farm he works on is crawfish and rice, and then they also have cattle. He's this really funny East Texas guy. When he's talking about cattle, and he's going, I tell you what, man, those motherfuckers, they're like a dog. Like a horse is like a cat, because you let it loose, it's going to find a way to live. Those cows, they need to be babied all the time. You got to look out for them. You let them go, you know, they're dead in a year. They're dead for sure in a year. They can't do shit for themselves.
Yeah, unless they're on good pasture.
Yeah, I think that he's talking about the environment. He's like, there's not too many pastured animals. Maybe a goat. Those guys will survive anything. They'll eat, you know, because they can eat anything.
There's so far it's really good podcast with this guy. His name, I forgot his name. He's on Joe Rogan. He's talking about pastured. He has 3,200 acres in Georgia doing grass-fed cattle, chickens, turkeys, ducks, vegetable gardens, honeybees, and he's got one of the thickest George. I can't even do his accent. It's like he sounds like he's from a different country. It's such a thick accent, but really, really interesting guy talking about
Georgia is a different country.
Talking about naturally raised meats and pastured meats and stuff. And he said this is what he would bet. He says he doesn't have any data on this, but he says for his animals, which are kind of naturally raised out in the pasture, the lifespan of some of the cattle would be, if he decided not to slaughter them at 2 years, would be 25 to maybe 30 years. He said if you were to give the animals in a factory farm a presidential pardon where they don't get slaughtered that year at 16 or 18 months, he doesn't think that they'd live much past a year or two beyond that because of how sick they are. Oof. The details he gets into about what they do on those, he's like, they put hormone implants behind the ear of the cow to make it grow faster. So in those 2 years, his cows are around 1,100 pounds when they slaughter them. The factory farm cows are around 1,400 pounds, and they're younger. They're 16 months versus 24 months. So in that span of time, they're putting on an extra like 300 pounds. Because of these hormone implants they put behind the ear. They feed them literal chicken shit. It's when you start hearing the details of it, it sounds like society went mad. It sounds like they ate some poison or something like that and started acting out some mad science, or like they were left to their own devices and became cannibals on an island. That type of thing.
It's that
The Jungle.
Yeah. No, Island of Dr. Moreau.
Oh, yeah.
Just some weird island off in the middle of the Pacific where they're like, let's try this, sewing goats' heads onto chickens. And that's less crazy than what they're actually doing.
Yeah.
It was sort of a mental experiment of this where if you rewrote the story and you just swapped out the names and maybe made the characters look different and you animated it, change the planet, change all those sort of fungible details, and you say this set of creatures is doing this to this set of creatures, and they're distorting them for their food purposes. You're thinking, this is like the scariest movie I've ever seen.
Yeah, like imagine aliens going to another planet, and you just start implementing all those things. His name's Will Harris, by the way, from White Oak Pastures. This is the type of stuff I've been getting really into. Started following them on Instagram, and just like unbelievably beautiful land that they've regenerated. Because it's like a 4th or 5th generation farm that they used to do commercially and use all the same practices. And in the 90s, he kind of had a little bit of a wake up call and said, this is not good and doesn't work. So they transformed all their acreage into regenerative organic farming.
Yeah, there seems like there should be a, market influence towards that if there weren't massive subsidies for feed. That would be like the easiest way to without changing, or making arbitrary regulations and deciding what's ethical and not ethical and all that. The only thing that would have to happen to at least influence it towards that is to not subsidize corn and soy and all the animal feed.
Yeah.
It would encourage people trying to raise animals on pastures.
Well, also not spending billions of dollars to basically subjugate people's basic instincts about these things. Because if you're clearly aware of what's going on in the factory farming, not just animals, like growing plants and everything, if you're aware of it, something in most people goes, oh, that sounds fucked up. We probably shouldn't be doing that. But it's hidden, it's pushed back, and then it's sold as if we're solving world hunger, we're solving production crises and all that. And, the more you look into it, you might be doing that for 10 years, but you've destroyed all of the soil on Earth. Yeah. And, what's going to happen 20 years from now?
Recently, that something going around Twitter that in terms of the health chart, that one of I think it was the Department of Agriculture or one of these institutions put out, and Lucky Charms was like above all these different things.
Oh, yeah.
List, like Fruity Loops and Captain Crunch and all that.
Yeah, unreal. Like is a food pyramid, basically. The new food pyramid that they've made. They've charted different food categories, and some of these things are like, it's just ridiculous how they even ended up on the chart.
If you call it a food pyramid scheme, it makes more sense.
Go get a broom from Walmart the other day, and I had Eve and Isla with me, and 2 girls, and there was Tony the Tiger. There was a guy in a Tony the Tiger suit, and Isla, the little one, was a little scared. She's not ready to meet those kind of characters, and Eve was very curious, and they don't eat that crap, so they didn't know who he was. And Eve was asking me all about him. Who is who is he? Why was he there? Is he real? And I see. He has a button on his suit, so he's not real. And I couldn't help myself. I was like, he's there to sell poisonous cereal to kids. That's called advertising.
I came across on this podcast. He talks about this idea, which now coincidentally I've come across twice in like 2 days. He talks about with his shift in wanting to change the farm from this factory farmed like sedentary lifestyle was he got a sense that before he was thinking about the health and wellness of an animal just being like, oh, they have shelter, warmth, food, this, and then he came to the shift of that they need to be able to express instinctive behavior, and that's an expressiveness for life, or that's a full life if you get to express instinctive behavior. And I'm reading this other book, and about like child psychology, and he was referring to his model of the world is based on like a hologram, that each species is a hologram of Earth or the universe, and that the more complex the nervous system or brain system, or now I'm interpreting the consciousness system of a being, the more it expresses and the more data it can express as a hologram of this universe or this Earth. So an animal expresses its the image of Earth in a relatively limited way. It has instinctive behavior and it eats. It sees the world in a certain way, and then humans or children and the complexity of the potential complexity of our experience is determined by this. I can't really describe it the way he's a scientist. He's much better at it, but basically a hologram of which includes. He describes a hologram as including a piece includes the whole part of something larger.
So fractal.
Like a fractal, yeah.
Or synecdoche, yeah.
Transition this into Twitter. Did you guys talk about Twitter yet?
No.
I just, because I did a tweet the other day from our band account, and I thought it was like the best tweet ever, and like 5 people liked it. But, it was something along the lines of, because everybody's talking about politics and Elon and who he's letting on and who he's banning and all that, and that's sort of the focus of the Twitter debate. And, one thing that I thought about, and obviously other people have thought about, but it doesn't get talked about much, is like his main goal in life, stated at least, is to get to Mars and to kind of build artificial intelligence and, integrate it with our biology. And so I just thought, like, clearly that's a motive for Twitter. He just spent $44 billion. Think of the data that he's collecting from Twitter. The social data, the language data, the voice data, emotional data, sort of social, the networking data that is basically being fed into his machine. And I'm sure he's got all kinds of, data analytics going on that's basically going to be training his robots, Or if you're trying to understand how human societies work and how human interaction works, he just bought like the best source of it that you could find.
Yeah, that makes sense. The only thing I think is different is that I think he's working for one of his robots. I don't think he's the one. His robot is deciding to have him buy Twitter.
That he it's like a chicken and egg Russian doll situation that he made something like generations ago, and now it's his boss.
Yeah.
Yeah, everything on Twitter, it seems just too simple. Like the kind of bipartisanness of hating Elon or loving Elon and defending him and then putting him down and like, oh, he's an idiot. He bought 44 billion. Now it's just going to crash. It's like there's got to be something deeper at works here. It may be nefarious. Who the hell knows? But there's got to be something more to why someone wanted to pay $44 billion for a social app.
Well, also there's like on the hate Elon side, just that he bought it for an ego move. Like it's just impossible to consider it just being that about anybody.
It's crazy limited thinking.
Well, it might be at some deep level for an ego, but that same ego has driven him to do all sorts of other stuff.
Right. I know the way they're putting it is like he just wanted to do it so he could troll people and like make fun.
Yeah.
But I will say this: if he is doing that, then I really love him. Like if everything is just a troll,
if he
I
bought it
appreciate
to
people that do things just for jokes.
If he bought it to burn it to the ground, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, any of those things could be.
Yeah.
I mean, I think there's pretty clear evidence of at least certain things that he wants to do with it. I mean, he's trying to integrate payments. I read a thread on Twitter a little while ago that back in the day he had something called X.com, and that was his sort of online banking startup. And then he merged with PayPal, and they did PayPal together. And then later, much later, like 4 or 5 years ago, he bought the domain X.com back, and he wanted to have this app that does payments, like storefront. So I think he's basically trying to build an American WeChat. WeChat is the Chinese sort of everything app. It's like Facebook, banking. It's everything. You do it all in one app, and it's obviously under the auspices of the government. So he's hopefully his version is and not so surveillance state. But
I think
I have a feeling that
Star Dude here on our Discord, or is he on Discord or
No,
Twitch?
on
On Twitch, he says, honestly, the fact that everyone on Twitter isn't a bot surprises me. It's literally just the same old shit repeated by both sides of the political spectrum, all who have a doctor's degree and arguing with strangers online, slowly but surely degrading their own mental state. That basically sums it up. Yeah, that sums it up.
it's a good take on it. The amount of MDs on Twitter that have apparently 24/7 to go and respond to threads. It's like,
yeah, why aren't you
shouldn't
fucking
be
saving
doctoring?
lives?
I think because it's too expensive to be a doctor now in America.
I think the people that are betting against Elon right now have not come around to they haven't had personal experience with losing against him, because I have, and this is why I stopped. This is why I stopped betting. Like when Tesla was first rising, there was a lot of hype, and a lot of the narrative was like, the stock is not worth what it is. It'll never be worth what it is. It's too much hype. And so I was shorting Tesla stock for like 2 years at the worst possible time. And I lost a lot of money just constantly shorting Tesla, because I was believing all these people who were saying like, Tesla's going to fail. GM and all these other car companies are going to be right there behind him. He's only producing this much. He's missed his deadlines. And like every time I've shorted Tesla or done something against him, I was losing. So not even from a moral or any other perspective, I'm like, fuck, I'm sick of losing against this guy. So I'm just gonna buy some Tesla stock. And then, I started making my money back on it. So at this point, I'm not gonna take any sides on it because he seems to have accumulated the most money in the whole world, which is not like it's not a sign that he's any good or moral person, but it's clearly good at whatever he's doing, whatever he's aiming for. If it's accumulating money, he's good at it.
Well, you're only as good as your last result. You know, that's
in people's minds.
In people's minds, yeah. And then it's also like, you know, if you meet someone and you think they're an idiot, or you think they're kind of a nullity, for lack of a better word, it almost doesn't matter what they've done outside of that.
Yeah.
You know, that doesn't change that's what's weird about it. You have the objective valuation of a person, which is, you'll know them by their fruits. And then you also have your own internal valuation, which is based on all sorts of kind of past experiences or biases or whatever, chemistry, all that kind of stuff. And that's a lot of what is going on, because objectively, he's been successful, whether that's due to luck or, I don't
nepotism
know. Who knows? It's got to be a mix of everything. Obviously, luck's involved in all success. But
I don't like when people get too heavy on being anti-nepotism. It's like, I have a daughter now.
Yeah. Well, we don't like it. Yeah.
Obviously
we had access to a studio.
And I get, like, maybe in a political sphere, you don't want, the emperor just keeps on. You don't want a monarchy. Although historically speaking, the jury's still out on whether democracy is better than anything else. Like, we'll see 1,000 years from now how it all works out. But with a daughter now, or a family member, someone you care about, like, why would I not give her an advantage if what am I working for? What is the purpose of life other than to help the people you're doing it? If you do it at the expense of everything, if you do it in a particularly like in a Trump sort of way, I think, that can be too much. But like, what the fuck is the point of life if you're not working for your kids to try and give them something?
Yeah, I think nepotism is fine as long as you don't name your kid Baron.
I don't know what triggered this. I saw someone playing a song, and they played the verse, and I can't even remember the line. They repeated a line in the verse too many times. I can't even think of an example, but you know the type of songwriter that does that. Where they're like, you remind me of a flower, you remind me of a flower, or something bullshitty like that. And it's like one thing to repeat a bad line in a chorus, and yes, fuck all of you, I know, come with me now, or whatever. But, yeah. Yeah. But there is something that maybe someone can find an example of where it's good, but if you're repeating yourself too many times in a verse, it feels it's not good. Do you guys know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
The type of song?
It's a fine balance, because there are a lot of good songs that like Kings of Leon have done, Coldplay have done, some of their early stuff where they just repeat it once. They have a phrase, and then the last two words they repeat it, because on first listen, I think it's a technique, and sometimes it's overused. And now I think people are just so dumbed down that like you can literally repeat "You Remind Me of a Flower" for the whole song, and it's just, okay, well, I didn't get it the first 100 times you said it, but now I get it. Now the song's a hit. But I think there are a couple good. I'd have to look up the Kings of Leon songs that I like that he does. Caleb does.
Yeah,
that.
no, I know I can be proven wrong on it, but there's a modern way of writing songs like that that's lazy, pandering, and they found the thing that worked once or twice, and then they thought that was a formula, and now they apply it to everything.
It's also the idea that you can imbue significance into something by repeating it.
Yeah.
Intent, basically, that's put into any aspect of a song that makes it work or not, because almost anything can work. Any rhythm, any melody, any lyric, if it's constructed in the right way and it has the right intent behind it, it can work.
That's what I was going to say. It's like it's intention behind it, because think about all the chanting music. Think about, like, one of my songs I'm going to talk about later is Nasrat Fateh Ali Khan. Like, they literally repeat a phrase for 28
How about
minutes.
a Buddhist chant? You know,
Yeah.
their verses are too repetitive.
Yeah.
about
It's sincere. It's not just intent. It's like it's sincerity. If there's sincerity behind some repetition of a word or a phrase, or because they feel like it's has some deeper meaning, that somehow comes across most of the time. Whereas if it's insincere and it's some fucking committee in a Taylor Swift writing room, and they're like, no, this is what we need to repeat so that it gets onto TikTok, viral things, and that comes across. It
I
works, but
can't
it comes
believe
across.
no one in the chat is calling me out, the guy who wrote "Repeat After Me," for making this point and the hypocrisy of it.
It's the lyrical equivalent of people who quote a tweet and then just write this, this.
Right.
period.
This. Yeah. Star Dude is funny.
Yeah, when we've done, I also get why it can be fun. Like when we've gotten some prompts for commercials that we need to write songs for, and we've gone through, and we should film ourselves doing that, because that's some of the funniest content, is that we are trying to write a song that relates to people, and you have this dichotomy inside yourself of saying, oh, this works, but at the same time feeling like a fucking idiot. And you're like, this is the dumbest shit we're doing with our lives right now, is writing this song. Like, what? It ended up being a pretty cool song. Maybe we'll change the lyrics and put it out there one day. But that one song we wrote for the NASCAR thing,
Yeah.
I don't think I've laughed harder in my life than we sing.
But we
like,
played that song on
singing
the
the
stream
chorus.
some months ago, and everyone's like, "We love it."
Yeah, because it had cool elements, and no one's picking apart the lyrics, going, what was the intent behind this? But for us, when we were coming up with a line like, so don't tell me to turn down.
Oh, yeah.
It's like, it's like, okay, what do advertisers want? They want people to be like little children stomping around, the restaurant.
It's like unabashed confidence. That's what
yeah.
they want. They just want,
Yeah.
even if it's not real, they just want confidence in like a truck commercial or
Right.
something.
Yeah.
There's a couple bands which we won't say, just in an effort not to be mean, that are the epitome of that in the alt rock scene. That are just, they might as well just be work in a little ad making factory, and make that money. If we could do it, we would. We can't.
Yeah.
Doug Stanhope, the comedian, talks about this a lot. He has a whole bit about how songwriters are the laziest and worst writers of all writers.
Mm-hmm.
You've got like 3 minutes to write. You write maybe 40 lines. Then you repeat half of them 3 or 4 times. It's just the laziest writers.
Yeah.
Let's do a little bit of news.
News. Events. Important.
Gossip. Stories. Terrifying. Concerning.
This is the news.
This is the news.
This is the news.
This is the news.
So, NASA expects humans to live on the moon this decade. What do you think?
That doesn't make sense to me. It's too quick. It's like this is what doesn't make sense about the moon landing to me. If I'm going to be honest, this has been a fun conspiracy to go down. Either we have gone back to the moon many times, and they're already now they're at the point where, okay, within this decade, that means in the next 8 years, you're going to have humans living there. That's like, have you seen them try to build a fucking road? Like when they're trying to build a freeway?
I mean, like living there, or they've got sort of a base, a little base set up there, because I could see that happening.
Either way, that base, if they were living there for any length of time, means they would have to have enough space and storage for multiple people, for food for many. Living for me is over a year. Like when someone says they lived in Spain and they vacationed there for a month, that's like you didn't fucking live there. You vacationed for a month. So the moon living, it's got to be more than a year.
I think it needs to be a sixth of a year.
National Space Station, they're up there for months and months at a time.
Yeah.
All you got to do is land it, plug those little things into the rock, that go poof, and then it's got the little eye hook, and you strap it down. That seems pretty straightforward.
All I'm saying is that it seems like they've probably been on the moon for many decades or something like that, and they're keeping it secret. Now they're ready to go, just like they've been doing with.
Side of the moon.
Yeah.
I feel like I should be a candidate for this because I've been exclusively drinking Tang for a year.
Someone says you cannot land on the moon. It's not possible. Not a rock in the sky. I could be an idiot, but I don't know if that's true.
I'll tell you what. I'm willing to go on the record and say that I 13% believe that they didn't land on the moon.
Apollo 13%.
Yeah, Apollo 13% didn't land on the moon at the time. Maybe we've been back since. It's just the more I read these conspiracy theories, like 90% of them you can just throw out as complete bullshit. That one is just too weird. And I know scientists can explain this to me, but I don't want to fucking hear it.
I think it's one or the other. I can't believe that we landed there in 1968 or whatever the year was, and then
this decade
never went back for 50 years. Well, 60 years.
They've gone back. Yeah. I believe a couple missions. The thing that gets me is when Elon landed his rocket back from space on the ship or whatever, everyone was flipping out about that in 2020 or whenever that was. In 1968, they fucking put a lunar thing on the moon, took it back off, reconnected, came back to Earth. I don't know. It's fucking weird.
Yeah, see, I think the more likely thing is because of the Russian like the space race, basically. Either there was such incentive to succeed at that they absolutely did land on it, or they faked it because the perception of it was more important. Or I think very likely is that they did land on it, and we've been back many times. It's like how many things a year do you find out about that NASA's been doing, or government or corporations have been doing, and you realize, that technology's been out for 20 years. It's just now only becoming publicly available. And it's an arms race. It's a space race. Everything about it makes more sense to me that they already created a base on that.
Maybe. I think it's impressive either way.
Yeah, if you could,
whether they landed or they tricked billions of people into thinking they landed, it's very impressive.
What is undeniable is that it was one of the most behemoth undertakings ever in human history for that decade. Yeah. And they assembled the smartest people on Earth to attempt it. The only way I could see it being faked is that it was a completely legitimate attempt, and they said, "Oh shit, it's not going to happen." Let's get Stanley Kubrick to film it.
Well, kind of along these lines, an interesting thing I've heard someone on a podcast talking about, so take it with a pound of salt, but it's this idea, always they thought about ancient aliens having helped build the pyramids or whatever. This guy's point was there's a lot more, not evidence, but it makes more sense that they started helping around the beginning of the Industrial Revolution, because for thousands of years, civilization in terms of mechanical evolution is put, steam train, electricity, and then within 100 years, the satellites, internet, all of that they have intervened now-ish in this last century.
Oh yeah, have you guys watched the show The English?
No.
It's a new show on Apple, or no, maybe Amazon, with Emily Blunt, and it's about an English woman in the 1890s. And when you're watching it and you're seeing that, the type of lifestyle there was in America in the 1890s, it was just wild, wild west. This is 30 years before the stock market crash. It's unbelievable to think that was only 120 years ago, and how basically primitive life was with.
I think it's
how ruthless it was.
The need for alien intervention. I mean, I'm open to the idea that someone like Tesla was speaking to bloody machine elves or something like that. But if you look at the way neural networks work and all that, there is an exponential aspect to it.
Yeah, things speed
it's
up.
Also like Prometheus. It's in mythology, the idea of that single thing, fire, and that just changed everything about it. So you need one advancement that allows for an enormous, the telephone, that kind of thing. Think of how much time that saved. So it's a problem of time and collaboration, because humans, more than their own individual intelligence, the thing that makes us quite successful is the ability to mimic and share information. So there's a social element that makes a species so capable of advancing rapidly. So then you have something like a telephone or a telegram, all that, anything like that, which seems relatively insignificant, is enormously time saving.
And on the flip side of that, as things begin to accelerate development, the danger, if it all explodes at the top, of how far you would fall just
because of the
exponentially big. Because you think about like the amount of people now, like even in the coding world, there are kids now that are coming up that are coding in these high level programming languages that literally would have no understanding whatsoever of how to write machine code, or the thing that actually operates the OS runs on. And then, back to like the light bulb. It's this cascade. If it blew up here, everything would go back to the Stone Age.
You mean because of the fact that knowledge is so distributed?
What's distributed, it's also, you don't have to learn the entire base of the pyramid, and it's not helpful to a lot of times, Yeah.
Ravens MP3 says, "My uncle's conspiracy is that the moon itself isn't even real." I love that people actually have uncles. Like, it's, you always hear about the person saying like, "I got a crazy conspiracy uncle."
Well, now that
I'm somebody's uncle now.
Someone's gonna say, "I got an uncle who believes it doesn't even land on the moon."
My favorite conspiracy about the moon is not really a conspiracy, but that it created life on Earth, because it's
when it impacted the Earth.
That
theory.
Well, I mean, that's now the accepted theory of how it was created, but I think we've talked about this before. It is just so abnormally large compared to other moons of other planets in the galaxy. It's 25% of the Earth's diameter, and it stabilized the Earth's axis, and it allowed the weather to be conducive to all the tide pools that allowed for RNA to form. That's the latest whatever theory, and it also protected it from asteroidal impacts and all that kind of stuff. So if it weren't for the moon being this abnormal, second body, the Earth might not have developed life. And then the fact that it perfectly eclipses the sun, it's just bizarre. Like, the moon is a completely bizarre.
That doesn't sound like a conspiracy theory. That sounds like a theory It sounds like a theory of trying to understand how life began. Because no matter how many scientists want to talk about how how life began, no one actually fucking has a clue.
Right. My favorite actual conspiracy theory is that the best way to make a hollandaise sauce is to use less butter.
All right, so check this out. I just came across this. This is not a conspiracy, but there's this thing called the most mysterious song on the internet. I don't even know how I came across it. Some Instagram thing or something. It's a song also known as Like the Wind, Blind the Wind, Check It In, Check It Out, Take It In, Take It Out, after lines in the fan-interpreted lyrics. It's a song composed, this is from the Wikipedia, most likely composed in 1980s, whose origin, author, name, and original record dates are unknown, was recorded from a radio station broadcast in Germany, I'm guessing. And since 2019... Reddit and Discord, all these people have been searching to try and find out who wrote it and what it's from. And I believe they've never found out who it's from. And like, it's gotten deep. People are coming across, like, scroll down here, and there's someone her son found a box full of tapes that were labeled as Alice Moglik, private labeling for all the mixtapes from radio. And if this is real, I haven't investigated it fully. It's kind of cool. It'll be a Netflix show, I'm sure, in 4 years.
Didn't Dad write a song called Like the Wind that was on a German radio station in 1983 or 4, and we have tapes of it?
I got to run in 5. Do you guys want to do the songs?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we'll jump to that section. All right, so we'll talk about... let's start with you then, Jess.
Okay. I've been trying to do this song for like 3 weeks, and then I kept... not being able to get on the stream. It's Don Williams, who's a sort of 60s, 70s country star, real old school. And the song is called I Believe in You. And so I've really been into Don Williams lately. Like, it's kind of, some of it's kind of hokey. The lyrics are kind of hokey, but excellent production, excellent musicians. And this one kind of stuck out to me recently. And if I can move my mouse, I'll be able to read it. It says, I don't believe in superstars, organic food, and foreign cars. I don't believe the price of gold. the certainty of growing old. That right is right and left is wrong, that north and south can't get along, that east is east and west is west, and being first is always best. But I believe in love, I believe in babies, I believe in mom and dad, and I believe in you. And it's a great record, and it's one of those things where it's like some of the lyrics you're just like, it's like what's his name, Bo Burnham's pandering, but at the same time there's actually something real and sincere under it, and I started thinking about like a lot of the stuff behind organic food is bullshit. Walmart is doing organic food, and getting back to basics, just love and having family and babies and all that stuff. And it's like
a lot of Don Williams songs are like that. For some reason, maybe I'm just gullible, but none of it sounds pandering to me from him for some reason.
I hadn't really heard much of him, and I heard that song. I had this. I don't know. I didn't see this on the list, but I was listening to it because you guys were talking about someone. You were talking about someone else. And I was like Googling big country stars or something like that, and he came up. So I listened to him, and I came across that song, and I had the same feeling. Lyrics on the surface are very pandering, but he sounds like maybe I'll be wrong about this, and we'll Wikipedia, and he was some asshole or something like that. He just sounds like a sweet old man.
Yeah.
Production is so good, that I think it's called Expressions, one of his breakout albums, and like the best players, the best recording, just really tasteful mixing. It's cool.
Yeah.
Apparently Dwight Yoakam is an asshole, and
I can see that.
Yeah, because he's in Sling Blade. He's the guy. We got to get some paying gigs. He's that guy. Yeah. But
he also could be one of those people that has an unfortunate face.
All right. So yeah.
All right. See you, Drills.
I'll see you guys later.
See ya.
See ya.
Bye.
Yeah, he might just be one of those people that's got an unfortunate face that looks mean or bad. All right. So my songs that I picked this week is this Tuvan group called I Karal, like from Mongolia, called Morgul, and it sounds like country music in Mongolia because obviously they're horseback riding culture historically, and it sounds like cowboy music, but in Mongolia, and it's fucking cool. Like that. The Tuvan throat singing had kind of this moment where it's like world music, and then a bunch of Western artists started doing it, and some of them do it amazingly well technically, but this is, to me, sounds like the authentic, real stuff. Really cool. The whole album's actually cool.
Dude, who liked throat singing was Richard Feynman.
Yeah, and he was early on that.
Yeah, he had to sneak into Soviet Russia because he wanted to go find the throat singers. Him and his friend, they came up with some diplomatic excuse about physics or something like that, but he was just going there to go find throat singers.
Huh. All right, so for my lyric, I picked a song by Hank Williams III. He's the grandson of the OG Hank Williams, and he sounds like him, like obviously familial. It's passed down genetically, his voice. The song's called I'm the Only Hell My Mama Ever Raised. And the lyric goes, well, I can't sell my mama short on loving me. I guess that's why she let me go so far. Mama always stopped me short of stealing. I guess that's why I had to steal that car. She told me not to smoke it, but I did, and it took me far away, and I turned out to be the only hell mama ever raised. He's got that typical, like, Hank Williams, the first, like, turn of phrase. Because, Hank Williams, people think of country music as sweet and innocent. He was a bad boy. Hank Williams, like, legendary rambling man.
Yeah.
And his grandson's got it. His grandson's got it. He's also got a punk band called Hank 3. That's pretty fucking cool. And I like it. It's bad boy country. It sounds, it doesn't seem hokey, at least not to me. He's cool.
There's a lot of music like that that's darker than you think. Like, that track, the Guy Lombardo track, Enjoy Yourself. It's later than you think.
Oh, yeah.
It's fucking dark. It's an extremely dark song.
All right, Dill, what did you pick this week?
All right. The song, I can't find a SongWhip link for it, so when you post the link, you'll have to just either find it manually, but I posted, so the SongWhip link is to another album of Nusrat Fateh Ali Khan's. It's a Qawwali music from Pakistan. He's kind of like the Pavarotti of Pakistan and that whole area, geographic area. The song is called Hamd, Louange à Dieu. But you'll have to Google that. Anyway, we played. We had a Friendsgiving last night, and we played a couple songs, and there was someone from Pakistan in the audience, and he said, I don't know if you heard this, Dan, when Joey was playing the accordion, he thought to himself, that sounds like Coeli music, or like he's Coeli influenced, and he's like, it must be a coincidence. And then he was either talking to you or Dad or something, and they said, oh yeah, we grew up listening to Nusrat Fateh Ali Khan. He's like, whoa. His mind was blown. So anyway,
I gotta
a lot
say,
of people,
just on an ego trip, like that was so cool. Finally, for someone to be like, I get where he's stealing all his shit from, because people always say
Zydeco.
Cajun Zydeco music you're getting. It's like, no, I'm stealing directly from Pakistani Qawwali music.
So check that out. The song is like 28 minutes long. That's when I was one of the ones that I referenced when we were talking to Jesse about repeating lyrics. You know, it's religious music basically. They're repeating chants, so they're getting into a certain state for this music. So if you have 28 minutes in your day, give it a chance.
The state is called my foot's asleep.
For lyrics, I did the Beatles' Long and Winding Road. Many times I've been alone and many times I've cried. Anyway, you'll never know the many ways I've tried. And still they lead me back to the long winding road. You left me standing here a long, long time ago. Don't leave me waiting here. Lead me to your door. And I was trying to think about what the lyric might be about. And I had my own interpretation. Then I just Googled it. And then all these people were talking about how it's about the Beatles breaking up. I'm like, that doesn't make sense. So I found this quote from McCartney. He says, it's rather a sad song. I like writing sad songs. It's a good bag to get into because you can actually acknowledge some deeper feelings of your own and put them in it. It's a good vehicle. It saves having to go to a psychiatrist. He also told his biographer Barry Miles in the 90s that the song was, quote, all about the unattainable, the door you never quite reach, the road that you never get to the end of.
Dude, that song to me,
I was like, how is this? It had nothing to do with it.
It's like one of my top 2 favorite Beatles songs, top 3 favorite Beatles songs, and I think it is more profound than Paul McCartney even knows. Do you know what I mean? Like, for me, I think he touched something on that song, and it's beyond him. You know, like it came through him. To me, when I thought about it in the context of thinking about my father or a father, but it doesn't have to be a father or mother, but like from where you come from, I think it's deeply religious, you know, without being religious in that way. I love that song more than probably anything. All right, Danny boy.
What have I got here? I've got, Blood Makes Noise. That's a cool track. I just like the production and sound of it. It's cool 90s type production. Susan Vega, or Suzanne Vega? How do you say it?
I think Suzanne.
Suzanne Vega. And then for lyrics, I have On the Street Where You Live. I like the Dean Martin version of it, but I think it's from My Fair Lady. I think it's from the musical originally. And the lyric is, I've often walked down the street before, but the pavement always stayed beneath my feet before. And it's just a nice turn of phrase, basically. It's like a, old school turn of phrase, clever, cool line.
Yeah. All right, let's just get back to, I had a couple dumb things from the internet to talk about. Where is it? Screen capture. Okay, so Danny sent this to me, right?
Oh, yeah.
This dude
is fucking insane.
Is a ventriloquist. I'll play the ones not from, he was on America's Got Talent and that.
The weirdest stuff he does is the delay.
Yeah, I think this is that one. Let me just play this. So his name is Puppet Jack _ on Instagram.
Yeah.
Not that he needs our help promoting him, but
Can you say poor Peter Parker without moving your lips? Well, in honor of Spider-Man, this one is perfect. The letter P.
That's weird.
Question, do you think... Oh, sorry.
I like your tracks.
Sorry, where was the one?
Maybe that one, I don't know.
Do Green Goblin's misery...
Excuse me? Do you know where the
bathroom is?
No, I do not.
There's not one around here?
Not for someone like you.
What does that mean?
What do you mean? What does that mean? Look at you.
So for people that are just listening, what he's doing is lip syncing or like mouthing the words.
Yeah.
And like it's delayed and then doing the ventriloquism part afterwards.
So
And
it looks like he's dubbed in real life. Yeah.
And he's probably one of the best I've seen. There was that other lady, Nina Conte, who is fucking phenomenal. There's one of those like skills that's, I think it's like looked down on, like mimes, you know, like the way people have, it's fallen out of fashion. It's coming back now because of TikTok and Instagram. It's pretty fucking amazing.
Do another one.
Let's see here.
Yeah, there's more delay ones.
Can you say we are?
You'll see.
Tape your.
outside.
How do you add in?
There.
That one.
Yeah. Well, that-
What are you? I'm a ventriloquist.
Really?
Yeah. You want to see some?
Yeah.
Well, I'm doing it.
Really?
Yeah.
What do you mean?
I'm you.
Hear me?
I'm you.
Hear me? What are you?
I'm a ventriloquist.
So yeah, he's fucking good.
Yeah, it's all those kind of like vaudevillian skills or talents or whatever. Yeah, people decide are silly arbitrarily, or they'll say like props in comedy. Oh,
Yeah.
that's a hack thing to do because someone has been a hack doing it. Now they've decided unintelligently that something's a hack thing.
Okay, so this dude I came across on TikTok, he's also huge, got like 2.8 million followers. It's IAMDTG. So IAMDTG. I don't know if you've seen this guy, Dylan. Mm-mm. He does.
Peekaboo, it's time to eat your food. All you need to do is pick off a little piece and chew. Look, it's easy. Mmm. No? You're just gonna stare me down? Well, what if it's an airplane now and it makes airplane sounds? Okay, not happening. Well, if your mom calls back again, I'm not answering. Because she's just gonna ask if you had it, then get mad because you haven't, and I'm gonna be sleeping on the couch, okay? So just, come on, have some. Peekaboo.
So
just Eminem doing everything in life.
Yeah, so he's a guy who does a really good impression of Eminem. I'll play one more.
Okay. Snow day. Good thing I got a coat, fam. Cause it's time to build me a snowman. First, you gotta get a ball of snow, and then you're gonna wanna start to roll, hit, and watch it mold into a large circle. Alright, now you got the base, but up next, of course, those repeated.
So, I mean, he's just done, it's like thousands of them. And this astonishes me, the commitment these people have to these things, you know, just video after video until it finally clicks. And then they run into the problem, because I've seen a couple of these accounts where you actually run out of content because it's one guy, you know, you haven't got a fucking team like SNL writing content.
Yeah. I mean, this could go on forever.
Yeah,
though,
well, yeah,
because it's just, you know, it could do anything.
And also because Eminem's such a huge star. Yeah. Okay, so this thing I came across here is called Songfinch. And it's a service where you can go hire musicians, songwriters to write a song specifically tailored to whatever you want to do. So people use it for like proposing to their wives, breaking the news that they've got kids or whatever. Mm-hmm. And it's
declaring war.
Yeah, I can see how people would like it as a consumer of it. But we were looking into it, like from an artist standpoint, how much you can make. Because we thought like, oh, what if we did one of those? And it's like $100. It's really,
literally $100.
Yeah, it's like the amount of effort, because I've heard some of them and they're very good, proficient songs. You know, like the typical one is like guy in the car with his wife, like hidden camera on her, and he's like, "Have you heard this song?" Plays it for her, and he starts describing their first date down to like the detail.
Right.
So there's a lot of details to fit into the lyrics, to time it all, make it sound like a real song, but also click. It's like it's so much fucking effort, and they're paying. It's not $100. It's a little more than $100, but it's like nothing.
Yeah.
I thought, oh, this could be actually good. I thought it'd be like Cameo where you could set your own price. Mm-hmm. So if some rich, you know, billion out there is a fan of ours, like, I want a song from my wife, $100,000.
Okay, so this dude I came across on TikTok because I guess he's in Austin. It must have just been like a proximity algorithm that found me.
Camera's on me. Oh, there.
Oh, yeah, sorry. His account is Dad Zodiac, at Dad Zodiac. He's got like no followers. His videos are getting, I mean, more than us on TikTok, but that's not saying much. Like 18 likes and that sort of thing. So, but I don't know why. It's not like the funniest thing, but for some reason it just like tickled my funny bone.
Dude, I'm a lover, not a fighter. I'm a lover who will defend himself. I'm a lover who, if you step to me, I will step back. If provoked, I will provoke back. So, like, I'm a lover who you don't want to fuck with. I'm a lover who will wreck your Dude, I'm a lover, not...
You've met that. You've met that guy so many times. You know?
He's a producer who makes electronic music. I almost feel like reaching out to him and be like doing something funny, like in the Chevy Mustang kind of vibe with him because he's here in Austin.
Hey, so I really like you. I really like you too. I just wish I wasn't so complicated. Oh, I am the most complicated. No, like there's probably something wrong with me. Meanwhile, I'm like, mental health? What is that? Full disclosure, I can't even remember the last time I was in a real relationship. I've never even like been domesticated. I'm what they call feral. No, but I'm probably actually toxic. If you could see the thoughts in my head, like, man, I am fucked up. Yeah. Or what if we just had a typical, normal, monogamous relationship? Sure. I mean, yeah. I'd like that.
I'm going to show one last one of his... what's this one here?
Oh, you want to see my impression of a privileged white guy talking about historical atrocity? He goes like this. Yeah, it's actually pretty interesting.
He's just nailing this typical... It's like an LA thing, but Austin's got its own kind of twist on it.
I guaranteed he basically goes to Cosmic Coffee and he gets a new idea for a video every single time he comes back home.
Yeah, it's... Watching some of these people do this, it's inspiring because the world is so rich with content for yourself to find interesting if you just take it in that way. You know, like if you're bored, it's because you're just not watching what's going on. Even in a light, like comical way like this, like shit's hilarious out there if you watch it in that way.
It's also in a minor way. It's a kind of service, this kind of thing. When when someone's poking fun at a way of being, they're modifying people's behavior.
Yeah.
Because people, maybe they see themselves through that. And then at the same time, it's like, who did we see on the, Nickelback was on, what's it called?
Yeah.
On the guest list podcast.
Oh, yeah.
And they became the butt of every joke, but to the point where everyone would make the joke completely unconsciously, automatically, for no reason. It just became, it wasn't coming from them. It was just like, oh, let's shit on Nickelback because I heard someone else say it, you know?
Yeah. It was always the little clips I saw on the guest list that they did.
It seemed pretty funny, yeah.
I've always, they did a Cribs, MTV Cribs, long time ago when they were at the peak of their thing, and they have this, he had this amazing property in Vancouver, and he was riding around on his little quad, and he was funny giving the tour, and I thought, oh, this guy actually seems like a fun person to hang out with.
Yeah, and they also spent their money in cool ways. There's jet skis and motorbikes, and it's just fun stuff. Yeah.
Yeah,
anyone that has a dyed mullet and porn stash is entertaining. Yeah, that's kind of what's funny about that guy is that he looks exactly like he would. He obviously fits into that crowd, but he's you know.
All right, guys, that is it for today. We'll be back next week. Go stream this if you missed it, any parts of it on Spotify, Apple Music, Apple Podcasts, all that sort of thing. Support us on the Patreon if you want to. And join the Discord. That's where there's a lot of really cool conversations going on about Congos, but not just that. Like it's the place where I would say all of our really best and most kind of involved fans are, and it's really interesting to watch they were talking about like deep theories on Repeat After Me lyrics today. It's like really fun to watch people do that and know how wrong they are. All right, we'll see you guys next week.
See ya.
Bye.